Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday. It's good to be with you. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. We aggregate all social media platforms. We put this show and a number of other programs that air on this network across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, TikTok, a daily e-newsletter that goes out to close to 140,000 inboxes on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere this show is on it. And we do this to bring content, make content approachable to you. We have a very good show lined up for you. Michael Allenby, the owner of the Festy, is going to join us on the program to talk live music, to talk about a festival and an experience that has its birth here in Charlottesville, one that quickly spread throughout Charlottesville and Central Virginia. It's seen many different faces or variations of the festival, and a new iteration this year, certainly with COVID impacting the industry. We're watching Michael Allenby and his team adapt and to use the word again, pivot and doing it in a Darwinistic world where it's definitely survival of the fittest. I love seeing this brand and this festival continue forward. I love the intimacy of the Festy. I love the approachability. I love the fact that you can go anywhere, usually in any event they have, and know a lot of people, a lot of friends, people that you see often or people you see every now and again. It's very, very, very well done. So we'll catch up with Michael Allenby today on the show to outline the partnership with Chisholm Vineyards and what I think is just going to be a bona fide experience that's going to cut down on lines and cut down on wasted time. The interaction of people from a pod standpoint, where you can watch a show with your friends or your family in a pod using QR codes for F&B. A lot we'll get to there. If you're watching today's program, if you watched yesterday's show, we let you know about an article in the Daily Progress. We'll get to that. Nolan Stout is doing just a watchdog, tenacious watchdog of a job covering City Hall for the daily newspaper in town. He featured 3 or 4 different activists in the community, 3 women, 3 African-American women that are now calling for the mayor of Charlottesville to resign. Mayor Walker has now responded to that article, so we have that story coming up on the I Love CVille show. She's called The Progress in a nutshell, a racist publication, and the reporter, a racist author. So we'll outline her, and I'm just going to relay her Facebook post to you and allow you to make your own mind up and your own personal opinion up. We'll put the story up and her Facebook post up side by side, allow you to determine a decision on your own. We're also going to talk today on the show a fair amount of college football. Notre Dame, the COVID management in South Bend is struggling terribly. And I compare and contrast that to Bronco Mendenhall in Charlottesville. And Bronco has had 0 COVID cases with his football team. That's not the case for a team like Virginia Tech. Last weekend, they played without 23 players, including their starting quarterback and their defensive coordinator. Notre Dame goes on record yesterday evening saying we have 18 new cases on top of the cases that postponed this past weekend's game. So we'll break that down on the program. We'll talk the best Mexican food in Charlottesville, Virginia. We're lucky in that we have a number of fantastic options. We'll give you an update on a Mexican restaurant in Zion's Crossroads that is nearing opening. It's a fantastic family, a hardworking family that's been in the business for generations. And I think this particular location, El Mariachi, is going to boom at Zion's Crossroads in the old burrito spot, I believe, Johnny. So give the show a like and a share. Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, spent $35.2 million on apartments in Richmond, Virginia, and in Short Pump to be exact. We have that story for you. Amazon is about to launch a palm scanning checkout where you can literally go to an Amazon location. It's going to be the POP. The proof of performance is going to be at an Amazon store first. But the concept is you can just do this and you're checked out. The credit card is going to be linked to your palm. So that means no money, no phone, seamless transaction, get in and out quickly, less interaction with a cashier. Frankly, probably no cashier at all. It's going to be just scans from here on out. This is going to be a game changer for retail. Amazon has plans to sell the IP to third parties like grocery stores and retail after it goes through its POP, its proof of performance. That story coming up on the show. And the Clemson and University of Virginia line, the Vegas line, has moved since yesterday. UVA's at Clemson at 8 o'clock on Saturday on the ACC Network in the premier matchup on the Atlantic Coast Conference on Saturday, and that line has moved in favor of UVA a bit. So welcome to the show. We'll give some love to Ting Internet, the best of the best. We'll give you a link on screen, ilovecville.ting.com. One more time, ilovecville.ting.com. If you can get that up, check it out on screen. It's the best internet at the best price. You're saving $288. We run the show here, guys, with Ting. Judah Wickhauer is our director, about 12 or 13 minutes from Michael Allenby of the Festy. The first headline, and Judah, how do you think we should do this? Why don't we do this? Let's get the daily progress story on screen, and give me a thumbs up when that's on screen first, if you could. This is the one from yesterday, right, Judah? The one with, okay. So that's on screen now, J-Dubs. Thank you for that. Look at the screen, guys. So look at the screen, read the screen, get educated with what's going on in our world. Nolan Stout's the writer. He covers his beat, which is City Hall, with a tenacious watchdog mentality. He is the byline I look to first when reading the progress. I think he does a heck of a job. So the headline you had on screen, Judah, was it the headline with Charlottesville activists say mayor and police chief need to go? That's the one? Yes, okay, good. Now, you saw that on screen. Now look at the Facebook posts. Can we get the Facebook post on screen when you're ready? All right, so I'm getting the word now that the Facebook post is on screen. I'm going to read this verbatim. This was the response to the article on the mayor's Facebook page, which, as you can imagine, is very much public record when you're the mayor of a municipality. So I'll read what she says. I'm not going to offer an opinion. I'm just going to read the Facebook post and then show you the newspaper article. So Judah, keep the Facebook post on screen if you could for me. And then I'll read it. Give me the thumbs up when it's on there.
It's still up.
Okay, it's still on. I'm going to read what you're reading online. Systematic racism presents itself in many ways in Charlottesville. Today, it's presenting itself as a racist article written by a racist journalist for a racist publication about a topic that it should have been a social media post. People have the right to vent, but that article ended up in print because they're racist. If I have anything to say to anyone interviewed or mentioned in that publication, I will say it directly to them. I do not need an audience. I made a mistake during the last election and made a public comment about a black person. I knew better and I know better. It's not my intention to allow these disagreements to be filtered through the white gaze. I am still doing great work. I am powerful. I am amazing. I am strong. I came into this position with my power and intend to leave unbroken and unbowed. So I'll break this down just from a factual standpoint, and then I'll allow you to make your own opinions and decisions. So the third paragraph, she says, I made a mistake during the last election and made a public comment about a black person. That's in regards to Bellamy Brown, who was running for Charlottesville City Council, where Mayor Walker called Bellamy Brown on social media the worst kind of toxic SHIT possible. That's what you call him, toxic SHIT. And now the Progress, put the Progress headline back on screen if you could, Judah Wickhauer. The Progress interviewed 3 or 4 activists in the community, Ms. Parker, Ms. Turner, Ms. Bryant, and the common theme or motif in interviewing these activists was disenchantment, frustration, anger toward council and city hall. If you read further in the story, one of the activists mentioned said she's changed and she needs to resign when talking about the mayor. So she then responds the mayor by saying this is a racist publication, a racist author, a racist news article, and a racist newspaper. So I'm going to allow you to make the decision. I'm going to keep my personal feelings out of this from one man's perspective. Mine, article put in the newspaper quoting people who had their marches cut short by the threat of a $500 fine if protest galvanized 50 people or more. So City Hall and the outgoing city manager said if you do a protest of 50 people or more and it's organized and we learn and know about it, we're going to fine you $500. So the activists got frustrated because, hey, we want to do the protest, they say, and then they also include perspective about disenchantment with the mayor and the police chief, citing the need for resignation. And then the response was from the mayor calling the article, the journalists, and the publication racist. So that's the lead of the show. We continue to just be oftentimes with our jaws open and eyes wide of dismay. Like, is this, what's going on? Why is this happening with the person that's supposed to be the number one champion of the community, bringing citizens together of many different races and many different backgrounds and many socioeconomic levels, galvanizing and leading and taking to a better place, as opposed to comments in the world's newspaper, the New York Times, about an ugly to the soul type of city. That's instead what we're getting from the so-called number one cheerleader, which is the mayor of the community. So I'm often taken aback and almost at a loss of breath by the path leadership is choosing to take, especially at a time in COVID where we have economic crisis. We have a music industry, a hospitality industry, a restaurant industry, a wedding industry, a downtown mall corridor that is begging and asking for help and for assistance. Now is the time for leadership to rise above all the drama and the beef, galvanize folks that are black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian, galvanize lower, middle, upper class, galvanize townies and locals and transplants that have only been here for a few years, and say, come on board, I'm going to lead to the promised land. I will take Charlottesville and bring it together. I know it's hurting. Instead, I'm seeing the opposite from our leadership. So I'll open it up to comments and perspective. I'm already seeing them coming in. I'm seeing 4 states watching the show. I'm seeing people offering their comments and perspective now. We will get to those that are on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it may be. If you agree or disagree, if you disagree, I'm cool with it too. I'll relay your perspective that disagrees with mine live on air. If you agree, we'll relay that on air as well. A couple more headlines I want to get to before Michael Allenby joins us on the show. I'm excited to see what Mr. Allenby's doing from an innovation standpoint with the Festy, and we'll talk music in totality with a man that is very smart, in particular from a music standpoint. Let's talk Mexican restaurant very quickly. El Mariachi has got its signs up at Zion's Crossroads. The gentleman and the 2 families behind this restaurant, the ones behind the Guadalajara on Fontaine Avenue, they are seeking a little bit more autonomy and have created a new brand. And the new brand they have created is El Mariachi, and it's close to opening in Zion's Crossroads. This is going to have a bar. It's going to have ample televisions for viewing games. It's going to have a restaurant for families. and significant outside patio seating. I think Louisa and Fluvanna, Spring Creek, Lake Monticello, the neighborhoods around there are going to really rally around this restaurant. I think eastern Albemarle County, the Keswick area, that can hop on Black Cat Road and then get on 64 and be in Zion's Crossroads in about 12 minutes. Eastern Albemarle County, the Keswick area, will rally around this restaurant. These guys have been working in restaurants their entire lives. They know restaurants and hospitality like the Pope knows holy water. So they really have it in their blood. This got me thinking to some of the best Mexican that you can possibly eat in Charlottesville. And we are extremely lucky as a community because we have tremendous Mexican options. I mean, if you're going straight tacos, I often highlight Tacos Gomez, the food truck at the base of Pantops Mountain by Freebridge. Those guys crush it, Tacos Gomez. La Michoacana on High Street, phenomenal tacos, La Michoacana on High Street. If you're looking for that jumbo margarita and some laughs and some fun and good prices and some chips and salsa and a sit-down and friendly and welcoming environment, how can you go wrong with Guadalajara? I mean, Guadalajara is just absolutely banging. I think El Mariachi is going to be one of those that's going to be similar to the Guadalajara mindset with its own tweaks for differentiation. I think, you have El Jarapillo in the old Northern Exposure building on West Main Street that offers fantastic Mexican food. And then you have a number of other Latin options that kind of pull from different Latin backgrounds, whether it's Mexico or Cuba or South America. We're blessed. We're blessed. Tex-Mex. I mean, how can we forget what we're getting at Continental Divide, right? I mean, there's a reason you can never get a seat there. It's because the food and the margaritas are that good. So we are truly blessed in this community to have a number of options. That niche or category within restaurants, very, very saturated. Very saturated, right? I often say on this show, the most competitive fields in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, restaurants and real estate agents. We have a ton of restaurants and we have a ton of real estate agents. They are super competitive. I think we can throw grocery stores in there as well, especially if this Aldi and these German grocery stores start getting into the market. Then we're over groceryed. You have restaurants, you have real estate agents and groceries. But if you're looking at a subcategory in restaurants, the Mexican Latin subcategory is getting pretty busy, pretty saturated around Charlottesville and Central Virginia. We'll follow that closely. We'll get to your comments on the program here. Let me know what your favorite Mexican restaurant is. Let me know your thoughts on Mayor Walker calling the Daily Progress racist, the news article racist, and the author racist. Let me get your perspective on that. Before we get to Michael Allenby, Jared Kushner, he spent $35.2 million. Look at the screen. $35.2 million for a short pump area apartment complex. This apartment complex has 190 apartments in it. That breaks down to about $185,263 per apartment, according to Richmond BizSense. The deal is Kushner's third in the Richmond region. Remember, last year, Jared Kushner's company spent nearly $100 million on a pair of apartment complexes, totaling over 500 units in the Chesterfield County area. So you're looking at a guy in Jared Kushner that has in his portfolio, and it's a vast and robust portfolio, the Kushner companies. He has 690 apartments with a street value of about $135 million. 690 apartments with the street value of $135+ million in the Richmond area alone. Wow. Okay, the New York businessman who specialized in real estate, he's got a reputation for not upkeeping his real estate that's been well documented. The guy is bringing his massive bags of money to the Commonwealth, where those bags of money go a lot farther in Virginia than they do in the Big Apple, on Long Island, in Queens, in Manhattan, whatever it may be. Next headline, and we're going to get to Michael Allenby very soon. Amazon has launched a new innovation. I mean, this company is ridiculous from an innovation standpoint. And I'm a libertarian. I am a small and medium-sized business champion. But you got to start wondering when the word monopoly and monopolistic needs to get thrown around with Amazon. On Tuesday, Amazon launched a new palm scanning device called Amazon One that connects a shopper's palm, yes, the palm of their hand, to a credit card. It lets them pay for things without waiting in line. You can literally now scan your hand to pay for something. To start, this will launch in 2 cashierless Go stores in Seattle, Amazon stores, but Amazon hopes to introduce the technology in other stores and sell it to third parties like retailers, offices, and stadiums in the very near future. COVID-19 has made a handful of companies stronger and has helped a handful of companies gain more market share. Off the top of my head, Amazon. Off the top of my head, Netflix, Costco, Target, Walmart, Apple. COVID-19 has put tailwinds behind those brands. On the flip side of the coin, COVID-19 has put headwinds, the stuff that slows you down, behind or in front of small and medium-sized mom and pop businesses. It may be a V-shaped recovery, but it's a V-shaped recovery economically for a Walmart, a Costco, an Amazon, a Netflix, a Target, a Lowe's, a Home Depot, big brands that were called essential and not deemed non-essential in COVID-19. So you very much have this Main Street, Wall Street dichotomy when it comes to this V-shaped recovery, and Amazon with a touchless Palm credit card infrastructure ready to roll out. That is only going to get more powerful for this brand and become another weapon for this brand as people are very fearful waiting in line. Let's reach out to Michael Allenby now. Judah Wickhauer, he's our director. It's ringing now. I'm excited to chat with this guy. This guy's an entrepreneur. He's a visionary. He's a businessman. He's really taken a brand and boomed it. He's a champion of local music, regional music, national music. Frankly, he works his ass off. I think that's safe to say. Michael Allenby is on the line. I'm excited to chat with you, Michael. First, before we talk shop, if you could introduce everybody to you, Michael Allenby.
Jerry, how you doing? Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure, Michael.
We've been talking for a while about doing this. Yeah, I've been in the Charlottesville community about 20 years. Moved here to be a middle agent with a startup called Sam Hill Entertainment at the time. I was the first employee, Sam Hill Entertainment. And then spent many, many years in the Pink Warehouse downtown with Jerry Miller's, with the Miller Enterprise growing next door in the South Street building. I worked at Red Light Management during some of the early years, got into artist management that way. Founded the Festy about 10 years ago, out in Nelson County, and then have been, changing it and moving it since. A couple years ago, moved up to Earlysville, moved out of downtown and sort of got the rural Charlottesville Blue Ridge Mountain experience after a couple decades of the downtown experience.
So you got your friends at Red Light watching. You got some friends at Sam Hill watching right now. I see the Music Today people on the line here. So I was very excited to hear the news in the media yesterday about. Is it a pivot? I mean, the word is so overused now. I think we're all as small and medium-sized businesses having to come up with something different now because of COVID-19. Let's get out of the way and discuss the partnership with Chisholm Vineyards, Michael.
Great. Yeah, so Andrea and Charlie at Chisholm have got an amazing piece of property, Adventure Farms, about 600 acres right next to the airport. It's a pretty amazing piece of real estate with amazing views and everything we kind of love about that rural experience that's so close by. They have, over the years, they've used the property for different things. They've got some of the best grapes being grown there. They sell their grapes to other vineyards here in the community, and they haven't gone the path that a lot of vineyards have, which is weddings. That's like the business model of most vineyards in Virginia, is the wedding business, and they've done more pumpkin patches and family events, and they do free music on Fridays, and they've always really had just a passion for the community and for music, but just didn't really know the music business. So last year I moved out to Earlysville a couple years ago, and my property is adjacent to Adventure Farm. So I got to know them and started talking about them. And last year when we were looking at relocating the Festy out of Nelson, we talked to them, but it just wasn't quite the right time yet. But I also manage a local band called Kendall Street Company. And when Kendall Street Company, when we were sort of trying to innovate and figure out when their whole touring, they had to come back from being on the road in Ohio right in the middle of March. And, when we were crowdsourcing shows and starting to figure out how they could make a show happen, we crowdsourced a little show in my backyard first, 50 people at $50 a ticket, and the band made a little money, and my neighbors called the cops, but that's bound to happen. And then from there, we're like, wow, this can work. We could just go directly to the fans. We could sell them a premium ticket and they'll buy it. And the band's economy doesn't have to stop. So I went and talked to, Andrea Matheson at Chisholm at that time. And they're just really open. They're really open and interested in growing creative ideas. And they're really passionate about music.
So I loved what I read about it, and I want to get more X's and O's from you. I mean, you got QR codes to streamline the process. You got friends and family that can watch in individual pods, paying for tickets well in advance to cut down on line and interaction with strangers, critically important with COVID-19. I'm going to get out of your way here. Give us the playbook of what you strategized.
Yeah, so I mean, the music business is a very ambiguous business, and I've been in it a long time. Everyone tries to find out what their unique place is, but I learned over the years that I'm an event designer, and that's one of the key things that I bring to the table is when something needs to be fully redesigned. And events are very complex systems, so in that redesign last year was a really fun redesign. Full brand redesign into downtown Charlottesville, how to use X Park a different way. So, for me, this period of time, the great pause of the touring business, I mean, I could draw some other analogies of other disruptions, that have happened in other industries, but I think it gave us an opportunity to build an event from scratch. And rather than saying, hey, this is the way it's always done, could we sort of just remove some of the things that people hated, to begin with. So at a traditional festival, you're like, oh, I want a drink. So you have to start walking. First thing you do, start walking. Then you arrive at the place and there's a line. So you stop walking and start waiting. And you get to the front of the line, tell the person what kind of drink you have in mind. They process it. They go through that thing. They take your payment, swipe your payment, wait, get your drink, walk back to your spot. Alternatively, you think, I want a drink. You pick up your phone, you hit drink, you put down your phone, and a couple minutes later, someone brings you your drink. Two completely different experiences. One, we've come to just learn to expect from festivals. And, so, yeah, what we're putting on here, that I dove down pretty specifically there, but zoom out like you asked to, is, yeah, what if you could redefine an experience or redesign a festival experience? So you get all the Blue Ridge Mountain views, you get the amazing bucolic setting, but you essentially get otherwise a VIP experience. It's like a whole venue of VIP boxes. And being able to do that, everyone being willing to pay a little bit of a premium right now to make sure that artists can get paid what they need to get paid, understanding that small capacities are just what's on the menu right now. So no sense fighting it, work with a small capacity, work on a premium ticket, and offer a premium service that at the end of the day doesn't cost more, it costs less. You need less staff, to run this type of system versus a full bar. We do the same thing with the food truck program. It's great. 106th Street food truck, amazing food, ridiculous schnitzel, shout out to those guys. They came out and cranked it up for this weekend. But how great the food truck doesn't have to have the line and take the order. It comes out through a QR code. Someone at Chisholm passes them an order. They run the order. Someone from Chisholm takes it over to the box. So, be able to have a small, intimate experience with a band, to be able to go out and have this sort of small community experience, because that's where we all are, I think, right now. We're all have a small group that we'll hang out with. We're not interested in going to see some stranger who might have been in New Orleans last weekend, but I'll hang with my little group. So if we could provide that, and it's just about sort of, listening to the market, and I'm in an advantage because I'm both a promoter and an artist manager. So I get these very differing perspectives on sort of what the whole industry is participating in. But what I saw is that by and large, the industry is waiting till 2021. Imagine if all the pizza shops shut down for a year. It might be a good time to make some pie, So, right away we're like, what could we provide? What situation could we provide that people would like? And lo and behold, Chisholm was really interested, and we started rolling right away.
Okay, so comments coming in already. You have welcome James King from King Family Vineyards watching now. G Milo, one of your biggest fans, fantastic music photographers watching now. In fact, he's got some perspective to offer, which I will get to. Scott Aaronworth, who loves music, he's watching in Virginia Beach. You got 4 states watching you here. We'll get to these comments. I would think what you're doing, you are engineering a better experience for the people that are coming to your shows. And from my standpoint, especially the older I get, I got a wife and a kid now, my most precious commodity is my time. And if Michael Allenby says, look, you guys can come to this show, you're gonna have more time with your friends and family, less time waiting with strangers. You're gonna have more time actually enjoying the music as opposed to waiting in a line with someone you don't know trying to get a beer that by the time you get it back to your seat or your fold-out chair is going to be 25% spilled on the walk or somewhat lukewarm. From my standpoint, you're creating more value for the concert and show goer. I would think that increased value is going to be embraced, and that you then in turn could, not a premium, but charge a price that is going to embrace that value that you're offering the guest. Is that the business model, certainly to help compensate for the lack of volume that's coming through the turnstile?
Yeah, I think, yes, for sure. I think there's a couple things there. One is reversing the festival model. Uh-huh. So a festival is usually a lot of big expenses in one weekend, and it's a big win or a big loss. It's a risky game. It's a farmer gambler's game. I did it for a decade. This is flipping it upside down and taking one brand of Festy and splitting it across a concert series. So dividing up that from a business, you're asking about the business model perspective, it's just like diversify that risk. We're going to have a few rained out shows. Okay. If you have a rained out weekend and that was your weekend,
you're in trouble
for the festival, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So that, yes, spread that out. 2 is, charge the right amount. And, I don't think, I spent a lot of time in the music industry, and consumers don't, are always, interested in how they're going to get content nets and sort of who the enemies are and who the saviors are of the business. But the fact is that live touring has been subsidized for many, many years. We have been paying less than what it really costs to put on a show for the last 30 years. And it was subsidized because touring was meant to sell CDs. It was meant to sell records. So the record business would subsidize it. And then the record business got hit by the internet, and then everyone goes out touring and ticket prices go up, but the experience didn't get better. They were just like, oh, dang, we don't have record sales anymore. I guess we have to charge 3 times as much for the ticket, and we're still going to the same amphitheaters we were in the 1980s and 1990s. Same amphitheater, same experience, same thing. It's a much higher ticket. So I think, it's stripping out a lot of that middle stuff and just giving people what they really want to buy, which is what they want an experience with an intimate group of people. They want to really experience the music. And if you just give them that, you can call it a premium, or you can just call it what it costs, just the cost of the experience. I do think, I've always believed that what we were doing with the Festy, people have always wondered what the Festy was and were really confused when we changed the locations or moved into town. But to me, it's just been sort of a vessel for innovating in festivals. That's Festy. And a lot of I think focus on the experience that the Festy has been giving people for the last 10 years, they've sort of felt. But in the competition of all other festivals, it's just really hard to differentiate. It's really hard to be like, oh, well, this one's got the bigger names, but this one's got the nicer experience, you know? So this situation has just offered us the opportunity to just, you know, and really put some constraints on to say, what is the essence of the event? What is the simplest thing you want to provide? And I think there's something that people really love about festival experiences, that they love it so much they're not willing to admit what they hate about festivals. And maybe you could get all that you love about it with a lot more of the things that you don't like about it, because, you know, they're not necessary, and ultimately a lot of those things become very wasteful.
Michael Allenby, our guest, guys, you have a ton of comments coming in. Can I throw comments to you?
Right.
This is from Laura Sherling. Jerry, I love your show. I'm watching with my husband in Arlington, Virginia right now. We're UVA grads and we keep up with the town we'd like to move back to through the I Love CVille show. We also love the Festy and have been to 3 different versions of the Festy. Can you ask your guest what his favorite iteration of his festival has been and why? And can you ask your guest what his favorite location for his festival has been and why? 2 good questions there.
A really easy answer, but I'll give them more interest. I mean, there's no question that what we're doing right now is my favorite.
Okay.
And it's the simplicity behind it. There's often this inherent chaos that's happening with a festival. No matter how much you try to get it dialed in, there's this chaos. And the events we launched it this weekend. We did 2 nights at David Wax Museum in Lowland Hall, and we got amazing weather. But man, it was just the beautiful parts, you know. And not to mention, so they're asking for me personally. I live next door to this venue. You know, when you're iterating and designing an event, driving 45 minutes out into Nelson County, where we had it previously, just to work out whether the idea is going to work or not, visualize it and see it. I've been back and forth to the venue, you know, 5 times a week for the past couple months, and it's awesome, that convenience. So, I mean, all of the venues have been amazing. I mean, Devil's Backbone is nestled in that ridiculously beautiful part of Nelliesford in the South Rockfish Valley, and that's a magical place down there. You know, right? You know, lots of vortices, and I love that. I love the whole brewery on site there, which Steve Crandall was building, and then, you know, the lock-in site was, you know, infrastructure. Oh my God, they actually like put in power and put in all of these things that you normally wouldn't get in the festival site. So I loved it for that. And then Ix, you know, was, you know, I lived on South Street for 20 years. So Ix being, you know, right in downtown Charlottesville, it felt very at home to me. So, I mean, they've all got their advantages. To me, they all had, you know, disadvantages as well. But, you know, I think the one that's special about this one is the landowner's interest and willingness to, you know, to make music part of the brand of the property long term. And especially in this time, which is a particularly weird time where a lot of people are just like, no, I'm not going to mess with it. So I'd say the best one going on right now is Festy 2020. It's the only one going on right now. So.
I like that, Michael. All right, you're getting props. This is from G. Milo. I've never missed a Festy, and I wasn't going to miss Festy 2020 this past weekend at Chisholm. It was perfect. Michael is most certainly doing things the right way. We had a socially distanced private box for 6 people, 10 feet by 30 feet. All the workers with Festy, all those working at the vineyard, the vendors at 106 Food Truck were masked and everyone was being safe. I felt very comfortable and enjoyed some fantastic music with my family. It was so good to be shooting a show again. It was great to walk into a festival, be led to our safe box, and start ordering food and drinks in minutes. Andre Xavier from CVille Hop On Tours. He's got more comments. You're a popular guy. I think Michael is on the money. The future of music events will be small, intimate, outdoor venues and a price that justifies the experience that you're getting from an added value standpoint. Ray Cadell's the musician. He's watching the show. Let me ask you this question. And it's a broad question. You can go anywhere you want. The future of music, not from the top 1 or 5% of performers, but let's take a Kendall Street company that here in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, we love these guys. I mean, the energy, their talent is off the chain. How about the future of music for guys like that, Michael?
Well, I mean, I think the opportunity has never been more ripe because of this really strange situation that we're in right now.
How so? How so?
Well, there are a lot of middle people between the artist and the fan. That is called the music industry. And the fan gives their money, and it gets lost in the ether. And at the end of the show, the fan gets some measly cut of it. And the middle is called the music industry. And there's a lot of value added there. Sometimes, measly, that's for these smaller bands. For these smaller bands, oftentimes, there's a lot of middle people, and there's a feeling that you have to, like, pay dues up the line, and you're going to get, cuts off the top. So you've got an agent who takes a cut off the top. You've got a manager who takes a cut off the top. You've got a promoter who's taking a cut. You've got a ticketing company who's taking a cut. You have the artist walking with maybe a third of the revenue that the fan is paying. The fan thinks they're paying for the band. They're paying for. So I think what is happening right now, and I think the paradigm you're seeing is through what has been happening in live streaming for 4 to 6 months, which, though it hasn't been like big numbers, it's been this long tail shift of the fans paying the artist directly. A little tip, a little Venmo, a little PayPal, but what they're doing, that's going directly in the artist bank account. That's not sitting in a ticketing platform. That's not sitting in a promoter's. It's not sitting in the agent's escrow account. So the cash flow play here, where artists really have fans and they can use a platform like Spotify to get the music out there, use the analytics of Spotify to know where their fans are, and then go sell tickets directly to those fans, and then engage the music industry to help produce the event or help them get to the show or however they want to. But the idea that fans, and I worked with a lot of artists over the years, I have a lot of friends who are artists, played bands myself, and by and large, there's artists sort of looking up at the music industry, wanting a break. Hey kid, you're going to be real huge. You got a great sound. That's the 1%. That's that opportunity, and I think the music industry seeks that. But I think what the music industry is not is the artist industry. It's not an artist industry. It's not built on building more artist careers. Its metric is not, we had this many careers. Now we had twice as many careers. Now we're going exponential in careers. They deal in about 13 careers a year. It's like the biggest names. And it's like, if you can get in one of those 13 spots that year, like Miley Cyrus gets it one year, she doesn't get it another year. Who cares? But there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of artists who actually, without trying to seek stardom, unless that's their purpose, if they're looking to seek a lifestyle and a business, there's no better, there's no noise. Right now, who are your fans? What do you do? Who loves that? Serve those people, get the economics right, which is getting set out, collect the money directly, and you could build it. There's much more opportunity right now to build a small business as an artist than there has ever been. And there was never an opportunity prior to the internet taking out the record business. I mean, there just was no opportunity to get into the game, prior to that. I think this is what the internet was for the record business. This will be for the live music business. COVID will be, and it'll reinvent everything.
So, you're talking about kind of what we do here. You're talking about building a brand. You're talking about monetizing the brand digitally. Olivia Branch says, Festy is the fabric of our community. Bravo, Michael Allenby. Sean Joyce watching the show here. You got 6 states now watching you on the program here. So they build a brand. They leverage digital and social to get the music out. Heck, I was watching Coda and Marie from Nelson County and kicked them some money from Venmo for one of their happy hour shows because it was so good. One of the things that is missing from the streaming is that palpable buzz and energy that you get from the Festy in person. Do you ever envision the live streaming cannibalizing the in-person? I do not, because I don't find that same, energy that I would get from a couch tour at my house. Your thoughts anywhere you want to go on this?
Sure. So so I think the live streaming that we've learned about in the last 6 months, I think is not necessarily the live streaming of the future. It was a great, everyone live streaming from John Legend to Coda, from their bedroom.
Right.
Free. It was, just sort of putting it out there and letting it out there. Low quality, generally speaking.
I don't mean to interrupt you here. And I do a live streaming show, okay? And I hate to marginalize live streaming because that's entirely what we do. But there was a point where I almost got live streaming fatigue.
Fully, everyone is. It's because it was all this creative energy. It's usually in a van or on some club, and it was just like, all out there. At the same time, the technology and music businesses didn't have good tools in place to put that. It was, like Facebook was like, oh, we got to ramp up stars, and Twitch was like, oh, we got to pivot into music harder, and we got to, like, everyone has been freaking out. My hypothesis is that when the shows, and the problem is with these, what the streaming has been, it hasn't been streaming shows, it's just been streaming because there's been no show.
Right.
So as shows become real again and they're boutique and small, and the access to them is the VIP experience, my hypothesis is that live streaming becomes the GA experience. And that
general admission.
General admission, small fee. It's $50 to be there, it's $5 to stream it. Now the stream better be great quality, it better be multi-camera, it better sound awesome, it better come with a little customer support so you can get your speaker and visual dialed in, because if you can't, what's the point? And we actually tested that. We did a private live stream this past weekend, but the intention is that, just to bring it back to, and this is the same thing with Kendall Street, but to speak to the Festy brand, is my vision is that we're going to have a limited VIP on-site experience, but it doesn't mean you're going to miss the show. I think it's a lot easier for someone to think about buying a ticket to a stream if there's an actual other ticket to the actual show. And I'm not talking about free streams. I'm talking about a private, well-produced, interactive stream that I do think could give people the opportunity to get 20 people in their home, a Sonos speaker, an Apple TV, a 60-inch television, and get some of that vibe, the community vibe that they want, I think that's possible. And I think if you sort of take what a venue is right now, like, why pay the $75 for the cheap seats at a basketball arena? Why sit up there? So uncomfortable. Why not, instead of that, only put 5,000 people for that, whatever that huge artist is playing in the arena, put it in a pavilion-sized stage maybe, and then sell a live stream ticket, a real live stream ticket. And I think that's the beauty of everyone, kind of getting a little bit normalized to live streaming. But as with most media, quality is going to float to the top, and there's not a lot of quality yet.
Dude, I love that take. So you're basically saying this in a nutshell. When the live shows become a reality again, the live shows are going to have the badass A+ infrastructure from a sound and audio-visual standpoint. The people that go to the
hospitality, everything.
Yeah, the people that go to the live shows will in a lot of ways have the VIP experience, and they'll pay for that VIP experience because they want it, and people will pay for it because they miss it or they crave it or they need it. And then general admission will not be the cheap seats in the back anymore. It'll be the band or the brand or the venue, whatever it may be, doing mass volume general admission, where it's $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever it is, obviously depending on the magnitude of the act, and anyone in the world can pay this. So their business model, the margin actually gets better because they have limited GA seats at the venue or the arena, but from a worldwide standpoint, it could be potentially unlimited, and then everybody wins. Is that kind of what you're getting? That's what you're saying?
Precisely. I mean, I think the effect that this is all happening, it's not just, oh, wow, the American touring business has held up for a year. This is a 6 billion person phenomenon. So everyone's going to ramp back up kind of together. And that's, I mean, it's just to be clear, there's going to be big shows in arenas. There's going to be big shows in stadiums. That music industry is too big to fail. It will come back. But more so, I'm interested in there being an alternative. In an alternative way that's not focused on just the biggest numbers of people jammed into the biggest venue that's possible, and that's somehow success. The artist's been told that's success. The audience is told that's success. Everyone's, oh man, it's a sold out show. There's nothing more miserable than a sold out show, really. It's like everyone's excited about it. I mean, the band's psyched, the promoter's psyched, the attendee is excited because they know they're at something cool. But what that usually means is like they're basing capacity off of what the fire marshal said. The fire marshal's not an entertainment experience expert. I love 70% full venues. I just think that's the sweet spot. The Jefferson at 70% sold is great.
It's fantastic.
And Jefferson 100% sold. It's like, man, could you just cut it at 70 and just put out a message and have us each pay an extra $10 and we could call it good? So I think, all of that, dynamic ticketing, all of this, it's just back to like, what does the fan want to happen? and what is the artist willing to do? And what's happening right now is the industry. I mean, the industry's devastated, in the hospitality industry, which is tightly held to the music industry, is devastated, and promoters and venues everyone's like, has no idea how this is going to play out. However, the bands and the fans are ready.
You're getting more props. This from Jess Martin at Locken. Jess is watching at Locken, and she says, creating your own at-home GA experience and smaller on-site VIP experience is without question the future. We are so excited for all that you're doing, Michael. I know it will be very well executed, and that's from the Locken team. Scott's watching in Virginia Beach, and he says, hats off to Red Light and to Fish for the live stream of their shows. For years, they've been crushing it. Please give them a shout out they deserve. Capshaw and Red Light doing it first class time and time again. A good question coming up here, and this is from outside Philadelphia. Dude, you're a popular guy here. So outside Philadelphia, Chris Cobbinger says, is the live stream, Jerry, ask your guess, is the live stream the new way of a band getting exposure at the local bar and getting a following that way?
Yeah. Yes, I think yes, the local bar or the local bar in any town. Yeah, there's this paradigm, there's this paradigm that the artists, in order to be successful, have to be traveling minstrels, and they have to get in a van and go take on this, really, really challenging lifestyle, especially if you have to want any kind of home community or any kind of family. So yeah, I think early on, the expectation is that you need to go, do that on the road. But I'm very good friends. They played this weekend, David Wax Museum, Dave and Suze from David Wax Museum. Their business was 12 years on the road, full time, traveling in the last few years with their family, with their kids, taking on the road. And they have made an amazing, using the pivot term in this time, where they are live streaming, and they're doing Facebook once a week, Venmo, PayPal. I think everyone tried, but they really got in and really honed in their thing and really made sure they were responding to it, made sure the live thing made sense, it had value, meaning that you got to respond. There has to be some way that they know it's live, or else it doesn't really have the value of being live. You do exactly what you're doing right now, the comments, the feedback, you're bringing in, they know it's live because I just said that, and he said it on the thing, and now he's responding. And I think if you can generate that, they've generated that, and they're doing great. David Wax Museum is doing great. They don't have to go around and play to that random club in Nevada because they're filling a date on the way to Boise. They can stay home and definitely bring in some other revenue stream. Now, how that revenue stream plays out, where it comes in exactly, there's not a technology winner yet as far as who's cornered the market on who's getting that monetization of, younger artists, long-tailed live streams. But yeah, simply put, I think, yes, absolutely. I think that's between that and Spotify, this general idea that the whole world becomes the audience, the artist has control and access to most of the data to understand where their audience is. If you understand where your audience is, some of those middlemen that I described aren't necessary.
More comments coming in. This from Nash Vegas. This is Chris Monk. Jerry, I'm watching in Nashville. I try to catch your show as much as possible. Your guest is blowing my mind over here. I see the role for the musicians in the future. As you know, I'm a guitar player myself, and I went to Nashville to try to get a crack in country music. I see the role for musicians. I see the role for people like Michael Allenby and what he brings to the table. Are the venues now threatened by what's happening for musicians when it comes to streaming? Your thoughts on that, Michael?
If you're not an amazing place to hang out, yes. If you are an amazing place to hang out, I think you've got a business. However, there's been a lot of conflating that happened in that most venues are more in the food and beverage business than they are in the selling tickets business. It's almost like the theater industry, where the ticket kind of mostly goes to the theater companies, and, Violent Crown is in the business of selling food and beverage, really. That's their real business. And most clubs, that's the case too. I think the challenge is where a club that's not a place where you want to hang out has the band that you want. And then you are you're only going to that place because you have to go there in order to see the artist. And you don't really like the food, and you don't really like the service, and it's not your favorite drinks, and it's dirty, whatever the circumstance. I'm sort of talking about the worst case scenario, like Dirty Rock Club. But I think now if you separate those things, and you take away the fact that the promoter and the person taking the risk on the show doesn't necessarily have to be one and the same with the venue. And often those things are coupled together. Traditionally, they're coupled together. But the promoter has this risk-taking thing. So if you can turn the artist into more like a crowdsourcing economy, where they're getting the money, fine. They're assessing the demand. They're using Spotify. Their managers are using Spotify data and analytics. And we know our audience. We don't need a local promoter to find our audience. And you used to. Before the internet, you needed a local promoter to find the people there. It made sense. But now separately, the question is, we know we have an audience. Where do we want to play? And then I think the venues are competing for the show based on being the best venue, not based on being the most aggressive talent buyer. And then and this is the case. I mean, this is between the 930, from the 930 Club to Red Rocks. The best venues really can charge a premium and have an experience. So what I'm getting at is, I think venues, we really just get focused on hospitality, food and beverage, ingress and egress, customer experience. We'll have all of the bands bringing their audience to their places. I don't think that venues trying to do all that while they're also trying to fight with the music industry to get the talent is the model of the future.
Dude's killed this. We were planning on 15 minutes. He's gone 33 because he's dropping knowledge. And dude, you will love this one. And then we'll do two more. We'll let you go. The Orange Peel in Asheville is watching right now. And the Orange Peel is offered.
Talk about an amazing venue.
Yeah, I love the Orange Peel. If you're watching, we both love you. Orange Peel, thank you for offering this comment here. Orange Peel says this, ask your guests what the role for merchandise, branded merchandise for bands is going to be for the future.
Well, so two different versions of the answer. So one is, so on site, just calling back to some of the features of the Festy, is we, from an on-site event experience, we're doing that all through the QR code. So sort of similar experience where you're sitting in your box, you order a beer, I'll order a beer, a small T-shirt, and a steak sandwich. So that's experiential. I don't think that's the core of what the question they're asking. I'm not trying to answer the question without getting clarity on what the
Orange Peel, offer more perspective here. I think what they're asking for is this values the revenue stream even more now, does it not? I think that's what they're getting at.
Well, I do think so. So I think you go back to the global audience we talked about with streaming, and I think there's something I'm going to be trying with Kendall Street Company that I'm really excited about, which is getting them out of owning inventory and doing it sort of a what would be called like a just-in-time flash sale. So we're going to try this, which is instead of Kendall Street Company, which is a band that doesn't have a lot of money, they want to get a bunch of T-shirts. They're like fronting cash out of pocket, and getting a bunch of cotton that's sitting in their van, for a period of time. It's not a good business move, inventory in a cardboard box that's being driven around, especially when you're not touring. So, one thing we're doing with them, because it's also hard to know, you're like, well, what's the right design? And we got to order the stuff. So we're going to start going into sprints of flash sales. We pick a line, we design a line, it's on sale for 2 weeks, and it's off sale. And then we print that stuff and ship it. And we have a service that we're working with that's going to do this with us for the first time. But it's allowing us to go to a global audience, to be a little more creative with the different things we could do with design. Try something funny, use the nickname of a band member, try, some, Festy, new shirt, and we could put it out for 2 weeks on a flash sale. People know that there's a short-term opportunity there. And then we've got no stock. We've got no stock in place. So I think reinventing and using these technologies and the fact that all of the normal ways of looking at this stuff is paused for a period of time. I think, any of the revenue streams of artists and brands are have an opportunity to go direct, direct to fan in another stronger way.
Dude, I could pick your brain all day about this. Guys, we have to let this man go. He's busy. How do we get, all right, now we're being told 6 states watching you here, Michael. How do we get involved with the Festy? We want to get involved with the Festy. We want tickets. What do we do? Where do we go?
Vote Festy 2020. Festy2020.com. Just go to the site. It just shoots to the ticketing page because this all happened so quick.
Right.
I mean, this was 3 weeks ago. This wasn't even a thing. It was an idea. It was a conversation. But about 3 weeks ago, we pulled the trigger on everything, and it's real. By 4 o'clock today, the new website will be up. 4 o'clock today, we're announcing 4 new shows as part of the Festy series. But Festy2020.com. is the place to find everything.
I love it.
And if anyone has any questions, they can email info@thefesty.com, info@thefesty.com. That comes to me, and I will answer you if anyone has any specific questions. Please reach out directly.
Dude, you killed this. You freaking killed this, Michael. I knew you would, but you really killed it. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for doing what you do, Jerry. Seriously, this is people love CVille, and they need someone to put a name on it, and you literally did. So
thank you.
Thank
you for saying that. You have a good one. Michael Allenby.
Let me know when you want to come to the festival.
I will, Michael. I will let you know. And Judah, let's make a note that we should release, we should go to the website today, to the Festy website later today, when they release the 4 new bands, because that's news for tomorrow's show. Michael Allenby, you are absolutely fantastic. We went long with you because you were crushing that interview. So we're going to archive today's show on every social media platform possible: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, an e-newsletter that goes out to close to 140,000 inboxes every morning at 11 a.m., iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course on ilovecville.com. So that way you can reference this show on demand at your leisure whenever you want. And I love hearing or getting the photos of you guys watching the show from your big screen in your living room at Virginia Beach. Scott Aaronworth, I got that from you yesterday, and it was awesome seeing that. I really enjoyed seeing that. What I'd like to do quickly is get through the rest of the headlines before our 1:45 conference call. A few sports headlines we need to get to. The Tennessee Titans and the Minnesota Vikings announced today that they've both closed their practice facilities due to a cluster outbreak with the Tennessee Titans. The Vikings just played the Titans this past weekend. That's why they're closing the practice facility in Minnesota. So that news just broke. Notre Dame announced yesterday that it had 18 new positive cases of COVID, along with the COVID cases that happened last week that postponed their football game on Saturday. So I don't know what's in the water or the management in South Bend, but it's not going well. The UVA Clemson football line, it opened yesterday. Las Vegas, the odds makers, with the Tigers as a 28.5-point favorite. Today it's crept down to 28, so you're seeing some money put on Bronco and that Virginia football team. Now minus 28 for the Tigers, still a sizable disparity there. Virginia Tech's line is held true. The Hokies minus 10.5 at Duke. UVA and Clemson kicks off at 8 p.m. on the ACC Network, and Virginia Tech and Duke at 4 p.m. on the ACC Network. Give the show a like and a share. I'm going to get to as many comments as possible today on the show before my meeting, my Tuesday conference call, which you guys have gotten to know here. Andrew Coper? Am I saying that right? Andrew Coper. Great interview with Michael Allenby. Really interesting topic. The online musical performances over the last few months have been a great distraction when COVID hit us. Yet I still listen to the Lumineers frequently because it was the last performance I saw in person. And I can almost relive that vibe being at a concert. That vibe that comes with going to a concert. That's from Andrew, and thank you for watching. Olivia said the Festies, the fabric of our community. Thank you for offering that perspective here. This is from Laura, who's watching in Roanoke. Jerry, I've been to 6 of the last Festy experiences, and they're absolutely fantastic. I in particular miss the good days of them at Devil's Backbone. Those were always fun, running into friends that we hadn't seen till the previous week or the previous year of the Festy. I'm not going to be able to get to all these comments, guys. Mike Kropf says, don't sleep on Cactus. The Mexican restaurant. Mike, I will try that one. I know you're a foodie and a photographer extraordinaire. We will try Cactus, my friend. Thank you for offering that perspective today on the show. This is a good one. Andrew McAdams, very quickly. Another Andrew, thank you for watching the show. I love the Festy. It's the only festival that I've taken my wife and my children to, and everyone has had a good time, and us as parents have been able to let our guard down and not worry about our kids. We only get that from the Festy. Thank you, Michael Allenby, for giving us that outlet. That's a great way to end the show. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show. We'll give some love to Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Dr. Wagner is changing people's lives through chiropractic care, sports medicine, and physical therapy. Scott Wagner, who's got your back, will let folks know how they can save $288 on Ting Fiber Internet only through ilovecville.ting.com. $288 in savings, free installation, and a free first month. $288 total in savings, only through that link, ilovecville.ting.com. I'm excited to see entrepreneurs and small business folks and medium-sized business folks and agents of positive change like Michael Allenby have such a fantastic impact on the community. Support the Festy, support Kendall Street Company, give Michael some props when you see him, because the future of music is unknown, and Michael is helping steer that ship in this vast unknown universe that we have in front of us because of COVID. So he crushed it. He's a great dude. He's a great visionary. My name is Judah Wickhauer. Well, his name is Judah Wickhauer. My name is Jerry Miller. Judah Wickhauer is our director. I'm the host. It's good to be with you on a Tuesday afternoon. We'll be back with you at 5 p.m. for the I Love CVille Daily Digest. The I Love CVille Daily Digest, all your news in 5 minutes or less, 5 days a week at 5 o'clock on the I Love CVille Network. Take care.